Very good morning, dear children. Welcome back. This video is for class 10th, subject science, chapter number 8, how do organisms reproduce, and this is lecture number 2. In today's lecture, we are going to study the parts or the various methods that come under asexual reproduction. We have done fission and budding in yesterday's lecture. Today, in this lecture, we are going to study about fragmentation, regeneration, spore formation, and vegetative propagation. So, let us begin with the fragmentation first. So, children, it is third method of asexual reproduction. Fragmentation is the process of reproduction in which the body of an organism breaks into two or more fragments or parts, and each fragment grows into a new individual. This kind of fragmentation method is used by the simple multicellular organisms like algae. They are also called as Spirogyra. Spirogyra is an organism found, it's particularly a plant which is found in water. So what happens in case of Spirogyra? That Spirogyra is a strand-like structure, and when it has to reproduce, what it does, it breaks down into fragments or parts. And what it does, that it is forming the parts so fragmentation is breaking down of the organism into fragments or smaller parts. And now, after they break down, these fragments will grow into the complete part or the complete organism, and they will form the new individuals by each part that has been fragmented. Now, you must be thinking that division of cells or body parts was occurring in fission also, and in fragmentation also. The body of the organism gets divided into parts and then it regrows. Now, what is the difference between the fission and the fragmentation? Fission is a method of reproduction in unicellular organisms. So here, in unicellular organisms, fission takes place, whereas in simple multicellular organisms, fragmentation takes place. Here, in case of fission, first the cell grows and then divides. But here in case of fragmentation, the cell gets divided first and then it regrows. So here division is occurring after the cell growth or after the formation of the new cell. Here the body part of the organism is being divided first, and then that broken part or the fragment or a piece of organism regrows into the complete organism. Here you can take examples of amoeba and paramecium. Whereas in case of fragmentation, we can talk of Spirogyra. Then the next type of asexual reproduction is regeneration. As the name itself suggests, that regeneration is a method to generate the parts of the body. So basically, regeneration is the ability of an organism to regenerate or repair its lost parts, lost body parts, because of some accidents or injuries. Many a times the organisms they lost their parts of body, and many of them are able to reproduce that part which has been lost because of the accident or injury. For example, we have seen that lizard, many a times, just because it falls down from the roof on the floor, then it loses its back part, or you can say that the portion of its body part, it gets lost. So what does the lizard do? It is having a capability that it can regenerate that lost part, and that's why this process of regenerating or repairing the lost body parts is called as regeneration. So children, you must be aware of one thing, that regeneration is not the part of asexual reproduction. There is nothing related to regeneration. It is just the ability of an organism to regenerate or repair its lost body parts, which have been lost during some accident or some kind of injury. So this kind of regeneration of the lost body parts only happens in case of accidents or injuries. So this cannot be considered as a method of reproduction. Now we can take the example here. What do we have? That many of the multicellular organisms have the ability to give rise to new individuals from their body parts. Which parts are remaining? For example, if we talk of planaria. Planaria is an animal in which the lost body parts are regenerated, and what happens? That the part they regrows and forms the new individuals. So regeneration can be considered as a method of reproduction only in some cases, only when some kind of accident or injury happens to an organism. Regeneration can commonly be seen in some plants like algae and fungi. Remember, fungi can be unicellular and it can also be multicellular. So here the regeneration can be seen in simple multicellular organisms. Some plants, algae and fungi are the examples, and some of the animals like planaria, hydra or starfish. These are also showing regeneration as the method of reproduction. Planaria, here the parent planaria is here. It gets divided into fragments because of some injury or some accident. Then in that case, what happens? That each part regrows itself into the complete full-fledged planaria. And each part, for example, if we consider that this planaria gets divided into 3 parts, first, second and third. So the first part grows the second and third part itself with the help of regeneration. Second part grows the first and the third part, and the third part grows the first and second part of the planaria and forms a new individual or a full-fledged planaria, which are called as daughter planarias. So here, just because of the regenerative property of the cells of the planaria, it is possible to make more, or you can say to reproduce more planarias. So that's why this is considered as one of the methods of reproduction. Otherwise, regeneration is the ability of some of the organisms that they are capable of reproducing their lost body parts. So children, planaria is one of the example of regeneration. The next method in asexual reproduction is spore formation. Spore formation is one of the method of reproducing which happens under favorable conditions. Favorable conditions in the sense that it needs certain environmental conditions under which spore formation can take place. So here, simple multicellular organisms, they reproduce by forming tiny spores on their body. They form tiny spores, and these tiny spores are the reproductive units or structures. The spore formation occurs in several simple multicellular organisms or unicellular organisms as well, because you can consider fungi as a unicellular as well as a multicellular organism, but spore formation in fungi takes place as a multicellular organism. Bacteria can also reproduce using the spore formation. What happens in spore formation? Here, the parent organism, it creates minute reproductive structures in numerous numbers on its body. So these numerous number of spores present on the body of the organism, they are causing the reproduction of the similar kind of organisms. Here, spore formation can take place in unicellular organisms like bacteria. In multicellular organisms, we have the examples of fungi, or we call it as rhizopus or bread mold. Ferns and mosases. These are also the examples of multicellular organisms which are following the spore formation method to reproduce. So here what happens, let us understand with the help of example. Here in front of you we have the figure of a bread mold, or you can say the breads which are left over and they are kept in the cupboards for a longer time period, or they are kept in open for a longer time period. Then what happens, you might have noticed that a whitish or a grayish cottony layer starts depositing on them. What it is? It is called as fungus. It is also called as fungus. So children, what happens? I told you that spore formation takes place in favorable conditions. So although spores of rhizopus is the bread mold. So spores of the rhizopus, they are always present in the air. But under the damp and warm conditions, what happens? These spores, they get spreaded on the body of the organism, and hence they are reproducing. So here, what do you have? You are able to see a bread mold here, and these are here we have a zoomed up view of it. that here what happens? We have a tube-like structure which is called as rhizodial hyphae, and here you will be able to see a long strand-like structure, and then you have a knob-like structure on this strand. So here this strand-like structure or support of the knob-like structure is called as spongiophore, and this knob-like structure is called as spongium. Now here you will find this spongium. Spongium is also called as spore sacs, in which numerous number of spores are present. Spores, you remember, these are the basic or the reproductive units of the rhizopus. So what happens when they are getting damp and warm conditions? Then these spores, when they are coming out of the spore sacs like this, then they spread on the bread mold and they get dispersed in the air as well, and hence they start producing that grayish or whitish cottony layer on the bread mold, and hence they are reproducing the fungus on the bread mold. Now we have the next and the last method of asexual reproduction, that is called as vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation is a type of asexual reproduction in which a complete new plant is produced from any of the vegetative part of the plant. So generally this method is adopted by the plants for reproduction. Vegetative part means any part of the plant which is not the reproductive part or which is not coming under the reproductive part of the plant. Vegetative parts are roots, stems and leaves of the plants. Vegetative propagation can occur naturally and artificially as well. So remember, vegetative propagation is a common practice in horticulture for producing the plants with particularly desirable characteristics. So here let us see some of the natural and artificial methods how the vegetative propagation is done. First, let us discuss the natural vegetative propagation methods. So here first we have the first part which is called as root. So here what happens in case of roots as vegetative propagation? Here some roots or tuberous roots are grown in clusters to produce the complete plant. For example, sweet potato and dahlia are the examples. And these are created or they can also reproduce by root vegetative propagation method. What happens here? That the cluster of swollen roots in case of sweet potatoes and dahlia, it gets separated from the plant and then it regrows into the complete organism and hence it reproduces. Second natural method is using stems as vegetative propagation. Here, stems of many plants are used to regrow the complete plant. For example, the onion. Here, the bulb part of the onion, which causes or you can say the root of the onions. Basically, they are called as bulb of the onion. The runner grass that keeps on growing strand by strand. Then we have ginger, it is also called as rhizome. We also have tuber, which is also called as potato. So all these plants or the stems of all these plants are taken to regrow or to reproduce these similar kinds of organisms. So what happens? Let me show you it with the help of the diagrams. Here you can see that this part of onion is called the vegetative propagative part of the onion. Here this part takes place. This is able to reproduce the complete onion. Here is the figure of runner grass that you see. What happens that one strand is growing, then it regrows again and it develops further and keeps on growing. So here reproduction of the grass is taking place using the stems of the plant. Here is the figure of ginger or rhizome. Here what do you see? That these are the internodes and these are the nodes or scales. Here you see the buds. So with the help of these internodes and buds, the ginger can also be reproduced. Now we have the potato. You might have seen that many a times when the potatoes are kept for a longer time period, they start germinating. So these are the germinating buds and these are called as eye of the potato. So these germinating buds, they are actually the stems. If the potato is kept in the soil and it is provided the favorable conditions, then it will grow into a complete potato plant. So this is how the stems are used to regrow the complete plant. Third is leaves. When the leaves, they help in vegetative propagation or for reproduction of the plant, then we can say that leaves are also used in vegetative propagation as a reproductive method. You can take example of bryophyllum. It is a leaf, and at the margins of the leaf, what is there? There is an extra growth, or at the margins of the leaf, there is a outgrowth at the margins, and here at the lower portion, the roots are growing. Because of that, just by this using this part of the plant or the leaf, the complete bryophyllum can be generated. Now let us see some artificial methods for the vegetative propagation method. First is cutting. Cutting, you all must be aware that cutting is a process in which vegetative propagation or the vegetative portion from a plant, for example, the stem of it, is taken and rooted into soil so that it can get the nutrients from the soil and water from the soil. For this method, stem having nodes or lateral buds are generally used. For example, the stem of a sugar cane. So what happens? The stem is cut from the sugarcane plant and it is implanted into soil. Then the buds, inside the soil, they take up the nutrients from the soil and start producing the roots. And then the buds, they start generating a new plant. So here new plant formation is done with the help of taking stems from the plants which are having buds in them. In the same method, rose, sugarcane, grapes, pineapple, they are grown. you should be aware of that vegetative propagation is one method of reproducing the plants in which seedless plants are grown, because many of the plants, they do not have their seeds. Then how to reproduce them? So this is one of the method that we are taking. All this process is done artificially, and that is why this is considered as artificial method of reproduction or vegetative propagation. For example, rose. We cut a stem from the rose plant and we implant that part of the rose, that stem into the soil, and then that stem starts regrowing into the complete rose plant. In the same manner, sugarcane is also produced. Another artificial vegetative propagation method is grafting. Grafting is a method in which stem part of a plant, which is called as scion, is attached to another plant part which is having the roots. So the stem part which is having the roots with it is called as stalk, and the stem part which is having absence of roots is called as scion. They are taken up and they are cut slantly, and these slanting cuts are joined together either with the help of some thread or rubber tube or tapes. They are joined together and kept for some time. Then what happens that after some time their xylem and phloem tissues get joints and they are forming the new tissues. So the plant, the scion, starts taking the nutrients from the soil with the help of stalk, and it starts growing into upward direction. So in this method, this grafting technique is generally used to produce the seedless plants, or you can say many of the fruit plants are grown with this method. For example, apple, pear, mango, lychee, guava, orange. Although these fruits are having seeds, but by growing, if we have to grow these plants with the help of seeds, it can take time and there can be a variation in the taste or characteristics. But if we grow them with the help of grafting method, it is easier and faster method of growing the fruit plants. But we should remember that two plants or the parts which are grafted together, joined together, they should be of the similar species. They should be related, closely related to one another. Generally, to produce high quality of fruits and flowers, this grafting method is used. The last method is layering. In this method, branch of a plant is made to bend towards the ground and it is covered with the moist soil. Then what happens? That covered part takes up the nutrients from the soil and starts growing. Now, even if it is cut from that original or parent plant, then also it is able to grow by itself. So this is considered as one of the methods of reproduction. For example, blackberry, raspberry, apple, jasmine, lemon. All these kinds of plants are grown by the method called as layering. Here in the figure you have a layering of jasmine plant, that when the stems of the plant, they are buried under the ground or under the soil, then they start growing. They are having growths for the roots, and the root, this part of the stem also starts growing in the form of a new plant. Then if we cut it from here, then also it will be able to survive and it will be creating a new jasmine plant. Now here we have some of the advantages of the vegetative propagative method, that it is cheaper, easier and faster method of propagation or growing the plants from the seeds. So by this method we can grow the plants faster than the growth that happens with the help of seeds. Here better quality of plants and fruits are produced which are having the desirable characteristics, for example size, taste, aroma, that can be produced, or these kind of features, or you can say that here we can use to graft or layer the plants which are having very good quality, and then they can be reproduced further. Vegetative propagation is the best method in case of seedless plants, because this method is able to grow the plants which are not having their seeds. For example, banana. Here, better traits or characteristics of the parent plant can be preserved. Along with these advantages, there are some disadvantages of vegetative propagation. They are that vegetative propagation induces the overcrowding of the plants. That leads to severe competition for space and nutrients both. Here, no genetic variation occurs because we are using the part of the plant and that will have the same characteristics further as well. Here, if one plant is having disease and you are using some part of it to regrow the plant or to reproduce the plant, then that disease also get transferred to the young plant. Here, we are not able to introduce the new characteristics. Similarly, we are not able to remove or eliminate the undesirable characteristics from a plant. So, children, this is it for today's lecture. Let us see today's homework. In today's homework, you have to do the in-text questions which are at page number 133, third, fourth and fifth question. First question for you is, can you think of reasons why more complex organisms cannot give rise to new individuals through regeneration? Next question is, why is vegetative propagation practiced for growing some types of plants? Next question is, why is DNA copying is essential part of the process of reproduction? So children, this is it for today's lecture. You have 3 questions as your homework, and the previous homework solutions have been provided on the EdQuack website. So please check the answers there. See you tomorrow in the next lecture. Thank you and goodbye.